Hello, everyone. My name is Muhammad Younas, and I'm the founder and CEO of vFairs. Today, I have Ben with me on this podcast. Ben is an entrepreneur and ecosystem builder with over 15 years of experience at the intersection of technology, events, and innovation policy. He's the founder and CEO of Sesamers, a platform supporting startups, investors, and event organizers through data driven tools for growth and visibility. He's also the host of the Selected podcast that engages with thought leaders across industries, sharing insights that shape the future of innovation. Ben, thank you for being on the podcast today.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Ben, let's get started with Sesamers. Tell us a bit more about what you are doing over there, and let the audience know how they can benefit from the platform Sesamers.
Well, Sesamers is basically a platform that allows startup founders to better understand the event industry and find the right opportunities for them. We believe that they can really have a huge impact on the transformation of industries, bringing innovation, but there is an area that is poorly covered and it's B2B exhibitions. It can be a huge asset for startups to meet their markets, but they're currently underserving them, and we're working on solving it. What it means specifically is that if you're an entrepreneur, you're wondering which event you should be attending, where you should spend your limited marketing budget, we'll be in building a solution to really analyze the best options out there and make recommendations based on your goals, your geography expansion, your ICP. And after we make those recommendations and we're using AI to do that, you are able to book directly on platform the right packages for your company. And we also offer payment solutions so that you can split the sponsoring or exhibition package in 3-6 month payments. It's working very well for companies in different industries of all stages. And on the other side, event organizers are extremely happy to partner with us because working with startups is very relevant and it is a strategic aspect of the industry, but it's also very hard to do and it's not where there's the most money to make. So we find a great, space for the company. We're based in Paris, a small team of 10 people. And we work mostly in the European market, but we're also expanding in North America.
Ben, correct me wherever I'm wrong, but it looks like it's a marketplace where you're getting events that startups can sign up with. Which part has been more harder, which is getting startups to use the system or having these trade show events sign up with you so that they can get more customers? Because if they're signing through you, then that also means that they're not coming directly to them. Which part was tougher in this whole equation?
The tougher part is the startup part. Really, on the event organizer side, we have a lot of demand and actually more demand than what we can currently handle, meaning that we are being still quite picky when it comes to partnering with an event. We want to build quite a diverse portfolio of partners. So top logos are great. They are easier to distribute or promote, but it doesn't reflect the diversity of the industry and doesn't really match maybe the needs of the startups. So that area is not really where we have the bigger challenge. And also, as we've been lucky to partner very early on with large event organizers, so like the big names of the trade show industry, we can access to several shows at once. So that makes it, kind of easier to get that side of the marketplace sorted. On the startup side, it's a lot less easy than what it looks like. Sometimes people will be like, oh, why is there a need of a solution like yours? If I'm an entrepreneur, I can just go online and find the right, event and just book myself and that's it. The reality is that it's not at all like this. The information is not transparent per se. It's not very easy to find the right information about an event. Even if you already know which one you want to be attending, it tends to be hard to get the information and you will basically get inside a sales cycle that is maybe tailored to larger clients and not early stage companies. So just that lack of transparency is already a filter or a barrier that means that for founders, they need to spend time on it instead of building their business. So the startup acquisition is really where the challenge is. And I would like to emphasize that the biggest challenge, and this is exactly the area that we're working on, is not so much to find startups. There's plenty of startup databases out there. It's to find the right ones and the ones that are the most promising to become an exhibitor. So the idea there is that if on paper a show could attract 1,000 companies and they have, let's say, 50 booths available in their startup village, how do you make it so that the 50 that are coming are the most interesting ones, the most relevant ones, and the ones that could become exhibitor in the long term, right? And that particular question is very hard to crack, and that's the one we're working on.
Ben, as a new startup who's participating in one of these exhibitions the very first time, what are some of the best practices for them to benefit the most from these events? Because participating in events is expensive. You're making it cheaper for them, but it's still expensive, because they'll still have to travel, handle the accommodation. They will get a great deal from you. But as you have stand in one of these great events, typically, do you have a playbook or do you have the list of top 3, 5 things that they should be doing in order to get the best out of that event?
Yeah, for sure. And it's actually part also of the offer here is to educate founders in what it means to exhibit. If you look at the journey of a startup, they will tend to exhibit after a certain level of maturity. Traditionally, startups before Series A, which is a level of maturity that are used by venture capitalists to define if a company has reached what is called product market fit, so they are ready to grow with marketing. They know how to get users and they know how to monetize it, and they are now able to fuel that with marketing budgets. So until Series A, traditionally, you would avoid going to exhibit at events because you don't really know yet how to attract customers and how to convert them, how to attract leads and how to convert them into customers. What we've been seeing is that this is changing now, and companies at earlier stage are now going to exhibit, and for good reasons, to go out and meet with their customers. And this is happening at seed stage level, but also at pre-seed stage level in certain industries. So what it means is that what used to be done by a dedicated marketing team to plan what are the activities, how you're going to have your booth, what the sales team has to be doing during the day of the show, all of that has now to be done by a smaller team without potentially a dedicated marketing function. And it can be done by the founders themselves, or maybe they're going to externalize part of it with an agency. But at the end of the day, you don't really have the muscle that you will get at a later stage to operate that. So all of this is to explain that a lot of what we are doing and we are happy to do is educate founders on how they have to approach this particular type of event. What founders are more used to do and what they get sometimes training to do with accelerators is to go and pitch at investor events, right? So startup investor event, what we like to call tech events. This is the way we usually call events that are focused on providing value to early stage founders and connecting them to investors. This is a type of event, a category of event that is relying mostly around networking and organizing meetings in advance with potential investors. You can get there, for a limited budget. Sometimes you can get there for free. There's plenty of systems out there to kind of reduce the cost to go to these type of events. But when it comes to exhibiting, and especially in the B2B exhibition space, then the cost, beyond exhibition, as you mentioned, can be very high. It can range from a few thousands to 10,000 just for a small, 2 or 3 days event. If you account for the travel, it can be even bigger than that. So there you need to make sure that you have planned in advance, you know what are your goals out of the event. This is a checklist, as you mentioned, that we are sharing very often. We write a lot of content on Sesamers.com that is available for free to really educate what is the planning that you need to do ahead of the event. Have to do during the event, how do you engage with visitors at a booth, and also what is it that you do afterwards to make sure that all the leads and all the contacts that you made are properly documented in your CRM and that you have the proper follow-up strategy. If I just had to pick one simple idea, and I recently shared a post about that, there is a formula that you need to take into account when you are planning to attend an exhibit, especially an event, that to know how much time you're going to need to spend. And people tend to underestimate this. The basic rule base is that if you are attending, you have to double the number of days of the event as a minimum prep time. So if you're going to be attending a 2-day event, minimum you're going to spend 4 days to plan it. If you have to travel, there is a multiplier. If you're going with more team members, there's a multiplier. If you are exhibiting or pitching, there's a multiplier. So if you take that into account and you're going to go to travel to Web Summit in Lisbon to exhibit for 3 days with 2 team members, then suddenly that will account for like 15, 70 days of planning.
Wow.
It's a lot of time that you have to put in to actually get the return on your investment.
Interesting. And so that's a formula for the planning piece of it. And I know it's hard, but I'm still going to ask, is there a formula also to calculate the ROI of attending these events? Because oftentimes the debate is that, is it meant to be for branding because you want to put some value to that? Or is it meant to be a source for lead generation, which means that eventually you want to see how much pipeline have you created by attending these events and how much have you closed from that pipeline? What's your take on that one? How do people see or approach the ROI measurement for attending these events?
Yeah. So for early stage startups, it's mostly a pipeline generation exercise, less so than branding. Branding is definitely an aspect after a certain moment. So I would say after Series A, coming back to my previous reference, this is when you also start to consider branding as a reason for you to go to exhibit at events. Before that, the main reason is around lead generation and pipeline generation. And as I was mentioning, companies are managing to get results at earlier stage. We've seen from a very good example is a company that is in the food industry super early. And because they had a product that works very well at an exhibition, like it's something that they can show and display, they were able to sign a pipeline that is like in the millions in their first year of activity by planning and executing the right event strategy and going to exhibitions. And now it's an obvious, like there's no doubt that they will continue to invest in that channel because that's proven to be the best ROI driven channel for them in terms of marketing. That won't apply to all categories, to all type of companies. So it's quite extreme. But when you are looking at the ROI from our perspective, it needs to be how many contacts you made and how many of them were qualified to become your customers. This is the number one metric. If you're able to put a number behind that particular target in terms of contract size, then it's even better. The challenge with events, as you were mentioning, is that it can be very long between the moment you went to a show and the moment you actually sign the deal and convert that lead into a customer. And there will potentially be other touch points that will continue to nurture that lead and bring her into becoming a customer. So it's always quite hard to kind of justify the ROI from a pure math point of view. And unfortunately, even if you do the best work at keeping your CRM updated, having everything in place, there's still a factor of uncertainty when it comes to how you're going to perform during the show, what is the type of boost traffic you're going to get. So a lot of that won't be under your control. And coming back to the previous element and where what we build is valuable is that you do want to know in advance that you put kind of all the chances on your side when it comes to where you're going to be exhibiting. And just as an example, there is a lot of opportunities out there to exhibit with larger groups like delegations, maybe from a country or a region, and sometimes corporate brands are also hosting startups within their larger sort of delegation. And it will be good for any startup to always consider where is that particular space at the event, because maybe the event is offering an exhibition package within a dedicated startup village that is better positioned in the show. And even if it's a bit more money, it will be better ROI at the end of the day. So just an example of things that you might want to consider when you're like looking at how you're getting money, like return on your investment when it comes to exhibiting as a startup.
Ben, what's your take on swags? So you're exhibiting it for the very first time. You as a first-time exhibitor, you're just concerned about, okay, do I look cheap if I don't take anything? Should I spend even more money on swags? What's your take on that? How do you guide people on that part?
It's a very good question. The challenge here is how you will look in respect to the others around you. And recently we were attending a massive consumer show in Germany where they have an amazing startup space with several hundred startup exhibiting. But the level of preparation, the level of, engagement and activities that are displayed at the different exhibitors is so different that if you didn't invest, at a certain level, then it will show poorly, right? So what we like to consider when you're like approaching this again as an early stage company, don't have a lot of budget. We like to recommend looking for those like all-in-one, all-inclusive packages. So like very simple, cheaper exhibition space. So maybe it's going to branch in Western Europe between 3,000 and 5,000 euros, to have a small booth there. But the good thing is that everybody has the same type of space, right? So there's no differentiation around the exhibition side of it. The differentiation can come from what you put there, right? So the swag, you were saying, the type of, activities that you're offering, anything that you can create to attract traffic and keep people next to your booth. This is worth the additional investment. So as I was saying, maybe I will try to find options that are all-in-one packages, very simple, very straightforward, where you're not going to compete with your neighbors to have a better display, but then you can compete on how you are creating engagement, giveaways, stuff that you can offer to the visitors. And swag, as in general, it's always surprising, as we are humans, tend to work very, very well if it's something that you can wear. So even tote bags are still, working. Hats and anything a bit fancy like underwears, socks also works very well. So that will be, something for sure to consider, even for a super early stage company.
Perfect. And tell me a bit more about hosted buyer meetings and then just the regular ones, right? So I see you have SaaS Talk listed as one of your exhibitions, and I'm sure like there are many, many others. As an exhibitor, sometimes it's more about should I buy a certain amount of meetings guaranteed for me in that conference, or should it be just as people are walking around, hopefully they will stop by my booth and would be interested to learn a bit more about that. Where have you seen more success for these first time exhibitors with their attendance?
So, in case it wasn't clear, I'm evangelizing for more and bigger startup villages that are built and produced by the event organizer as the perfect compromise, the perfect sort of bundle between what is required for the startups. So like something that is cheap, where you can create density and, show visibly where are these startups in your show, and provide to new audiences and access to these type of exhibitors. There's a lot of reasons for this to be the right format. And it's, I would say it's like a way for you to provide the value of the hosted buyer meeting to your first time exhibitor without them needing to spend the budget on participating in the hosted buyers meeting. What we're seeing, and I would mention a show we work with, I would say two things. With traditional industry shows, which is where these new investments in new programs are kind of happening. A good example is JEC World. So JEC World is a composite material trade show. We've been partnering with them for several years, and they have been running a startup competition for many years. So 20 companies are selected to pitch and exhibit for free. There are sponsors involved in this. Then recently they started to do an investor day, and they also are launching a dedicated startup village to embed their existing activities, right? There is already a buyer program. So all of that is not a new thing. What they are looking is how do they embed the startup offering and the startup expo within their buyer program in a way that makes sense for both sides, because The startups, they might not all be ready for that. Some of them might be too early and they might need preparation to be buyers friendly. And on the other side, if the buyers are looking for more established solutions, they might not really want to meet startups. So that's where you also want to be building this investor program that I was referring as a substitute to a buyer program, let's say, right? So this is, a very interesting approach. Coming back to the example of SaaStock that you were mentioning, I found it super interesting because the tech event category that I was referring to earlier, which is not exactly the same as the pure B2B exhibition, they are moving into the buyers time meeting space. They are looking how they can provide more tangible value to the startups involved, which is a format that was more produced by exhibitions, right? So they are becoming a little bit more exhibition in a sense, in how they provide value to partners. And it's really fascinating. Another event that has been experimenting that space is called Vivatech in Paris. They also have a buyers program where startups can pay to have meetings pre-arranged with corporate buyers. So you see that this kind of, blends the world of tech events with exhibitions.
Makes sense. Just few quick, rapid fire questions for you. As an attendee, not as an exhibitor, but as an attendee, which are your top three favorite events that you like to attend?
Myself, it's hard for me to answer because then, someone will be jealous. I will try to be friends with all the events out there, with the Switzerland of events, I have to say only one that I want to say right now. Or maybe I can do two. For the startup side of things, always been a big fan of Slush in Helsinki for different reasons, but the main one is because it is really one of the most founders friendly conference. So Slush is third week of November in Helsinki. It's a rather, let's say, small event if you compare it to others, but gathering 13,000 people. And everything they built, it's run by a non-profit student organization. Everything they built is done with founders in mind. So they really tailor the entire content and experience around providing value to startup founders. A lot of other events are doing amazing things for founders. The level of radical startup focus that Slush can exhibit, because again, it's a non-profit, it's run by students, they can do it for different reasons, is really on par. And it's always great to go there to see kind of what are the trends and how we can bring this learning to other shows and especially B2B expos. The other event I'd like to mention, it's one that I discovered this year. I think it's at the opposite side of the spectrum. It's also super interesting, is Love Tomorrow Summit, which is a conference that is like 3 or 4 years old, that was created by the Tomorrowland Festival as a channel to bring in the sustainability agenda to their audience and create a forum for opportunities in the impact entrepreneurship space. It's like 6,000 attendees. It's happening the day before the festival starts on the second week. And it was really, I went there for the first time. It was really fascinating to see how a B2C show, like a festival, was using their floor, like the entire space that they use for concerts, for DJ. Like it's a big electronic music festival during the day for conferences and B2B activations. And I found that extremely interesting, again, when it comes to learning what's out there and how you can, bring some of this learning to your own shows.
Ben, tell me a few things that are working with regards to AI for you, whether it is AI you using it within your own company, your company with 10 people, I'm sure all of us are using ChatGPT in one way or another to create efficiency within our own company, or trying to create that within the product. So what's working well for you when it comes to AI within your company or within your product, and what's not working well for you? Because the challenge with AI is just tons of noise, and we don't know what works and what doesn't. So what has not worked for you and what did work for you when it comes to AI? Yeah, no, I'm back. And you can hear me, right?
Yes.
Perfect.
Sorry, I was worried it was on my side, but
Yeah, no,
back.
looks like it was on my side. So Ben, my question was, tell me a few things that are working well for you when it comes to AI, whether it's within your own company, or whether it's within the product. And then most importantly, what are some of the things that are not working well with AI? Because I go to LinkedIn and every single day I see 100 people saying that they have a magic prompt of how X, Y, and Z can happen. And I have to comment on that to get that magic prompt. And then when I use that magic prompt, it's not at all what was told to me. So tell me a few things that are working well for you when it comes to AI and some of the things that you feel that are not there yet.
Yeah. So we, as you mentioned, we are a small team. So we definitely use AI to scale our capacities. I feel like on the software development side, the maturity of what is available already is impressive, and that allows us to ship product faster and have, even with a small team, the capacity to build a platform thanks to what AI provides. In terms of generating content, it's a bit of a double sword, but it's still an area where, yes, it helps us a lot to put together proposals, work on articles, work on briefing documents. But again, there you want to have it trained on your existing materials, on your tone of voice. So it's not just, you put a prompt and it's going to be magically working. And on the software side again, and I think that's something especially powerful, like really powerful for us to operate in our space. We've been using prompt and then optimizing it as workflows and down to building our own agents to qualify companies that are the most promising one. I was referring to this earlier. Which companies, which startups are prone to become exhibitors in the next 2 years, right? Answering that question is at the core of what we're building. And for that, we are, we're using AI, and we're using it in a way that is both very simple and accessible, but at the same time, extremely unique and linked to the type of data that we manage. And this type of insight is super interesting. We have events that are eager to work with us and use our platform because that will help them really filter out companies based on their quality, but also their exhibition friendliness, as I was, referring to. So AI in day-to-day life, as I was mentioning, is impacting every areas of our business. Things that are not working so well, where you said it, LinkedIn can be, you feel like it's bots talking to each other. This vast amount of AI-generated content that is already everywhere on the text side and coming to images and coming to video next is creating a problem of trust, which we believe is also one of the reasons why face-to-face engagement and events will continue to regain their popularity and still remain relevant and our reason for us to be building in that space. You would say, okay, can we use AI then to put together events? Plenty of things can be done. I'm still think we're a bit far from kind of vibe coding an event, vibe eventing it. I've tried prompts, that can help you design the strategy and the plan and everything they should be doing to operate events. I feel like the element of uncertainty and of failure that comes to analog and real life activities is still, a space where AI won't be solving everything. And another area where I'm a big fan of using AI to optimize for networking, and I know there's a lot that is already being done, but beyond what can be provided based on the job titles or the tags that visitors or exhibitors are using on their profile, it sounds like AI-powered, networking is still not ready yet. And recently there was a big backlash with a major video game convention, Gamescom, that used an AI-powered meeting generator to book appointments for their visitors automatically. With other content, it was like a huge, failure, and they shut that, down immediately. So it feels like when it comes to networking, the element of kind of, engagement, like I really want to spend time with you and I'm eager to engage with you, is not yet something that we can delegate to the robots. It's like I can't really give away to AI my attachment response, And that applies to business meetings as it's already applying to the dating world, I think.
Thank you, Ben, so much for being on the podcast. If anyone wants to learn a bit more about Sesamers or wants to connect with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
I'm on LinkedIn. My phone number and email are very easy to find. So please just go ahead and reach out. I'm Ben Costantini, ben at sesamers.com. On Sesamers, you can go ahead and subscribe to our newsletter for free. You can also create an event organizer profile. Or if you're a startup, you can also go ahead and create a profile there. We provide free strategy consultancy to any founder out there. So please just go ahead, sesamers.com, and looking forward to connecting.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you, everyone, for listening in, and we'll see you in the next podcast. Thank you, Ben, for joining us today.